this is crazy. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Are they going to hit each other? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Now it's a huge one. Oh, my God. Well, that's a spicy devastation steak. My entire first work is spicy. I got water. And this one's not spicy.
Welcome back to another episode of the High Frequency Chaos. Today we're diving down the rabbit hole of who controls the weather. Man, this last hurricane, Helene, was absolutely nuts. And I live in North Carolina. I am about 3.5 hours away from Asheville. We're about to dive down this hole and let me know your thoughts on who controls the weather. Do you believe that the governments control it, or do you believe it's an act of God, or both? I want the 107 bridge. 107 highway bridge.
unbelievable sight coming from the mountains of North Carolina. One place experienced a catastrophic impact due to this massive storm.
Here in North Carolina, we're used to these kind of storms happening on the coast, but it is very rare to see this kind of damage in the mountains. People were bracing for some of the worst damage in at least 20 years. Normally, this is a busy tourist area with shops and restaurants that connects downtown. Now you see it is impassable. It is an entire river right here. They have it blocked off right here. Thankfully, it has now started to recede, but you see some of the leftover boats right here. That's because there were about 100 people who were stuck with obviously catastrophic damage to some of these historic buildings in this area. And it's only going to be once that water recedes that we'll see the full extent of the damage. But throughout Asheville, even in downtown Asheville, we've seen down trees, down power lines, hundreds of thousands of people still without power in this part of North Carolina. And it's still unclear when that power is going to come back on. But thankfully, it appears the worst is over right now. But catastrophic damage here in Asheville, North Carolina.
Thing as a hurricane hitting Florida. I'll continue to say this until people get it. What's happening in Western North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia is not the same thing as a hurricane hitting Florida. This is in the freaking mountains. They had no warning. They had no idea this was going to happen. None. They need air support. There are people that are missing. They can't get in touch with their family. They have no way of communicating with anyone. They have no electricity. They have no food, water, any way of telling anyone where they are. No, nothing. And they don't have any way to fix it because the roads are washed out and there's no way in or out. People are just stuck. And this happened quickly with no warning. This is in the mountains of Appalachia. Like, there's not hurricane warnings don't affect them. I mean, this is crazy. A lot of people went to sleep and a dam broke a few cities away, and then that led to another dam breaking and another dam breaking, and then next thing you know, their house is washing down the side of the mountain. When you live on the mountain, the only thing you got to worry about is if there's like tons and tons of rain for weeks and weeks at a time, then you might have to worry about a mudslide. But never in their wildest dreams did they expect this. There was no warnings. There was no anything. This just happened. People were trapped in their homes with flash flooding. And there's still so many people that are making videos that saying, please help me find my family. Please let me know if they're okay. And I mean, why isn't the government there helping them? Like, they need air support. I mean, before people can even get in to help, they have to have a way to get in. And there's no gas at any of the gas stations anywhere in the area. The entire Western North Carolina is just completely inaccessible except by air. And this is 2 days later. I mean, I don't understand why they're not getting help. I know that they're busy in Florida. This is catastrophic for people that had no time to prepare, no warning, and could have never imagined this in their wildest dreams. I saw one girl say that his funeral was supposed to be this weekend, and the funeral home is completely flooded, completely. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Just that, having that thought in the back of your mind while all this is going on. Pastures of livestock that just never made it out. And even when they cut them free, there's even pictures of dogs getting set free they were in cages. Government, please send help, send air support, please rescue these people. Get it together because they need help too. There's entire cities that are gone. There is so many people that are unalived. I mean, they can't even get it together to figure that out at this time. There are people that lived through Katrina that now are living in Western North Carolina, and they are comparing this to Katrina. I can't even imagine that. Multiple people are saying that. We pretty much think of Katrina being like the worst thing ever. No one's taking it seriously at all. They think just because they're not supposed to be affected by a hurricane that they should be okay. And that's not what happened. And once again, Elon Musk, who is one man, is coming to the rescue way better than our government does. He's positioned his Starlink satellites to where the people in these affected areas can at least get Wi-Fi and be able to call. He literally did that. Our government has done nothing. Just like he had to send a shuttle into space to rescue the people that are stranded there. How is one man doing more than our government is? I mean, I know he's rich, but come on. Like, the government should be doing something. They're the ones with all the planes. There are people that are taking their personal plane and helping. The only help they're getting is from their local resources and people that are using their own personal stuff coming from, the vicinity. National help is not there.
Now, that's a very good question. Where is the government and what is FEMA doing to help? I'm going to show you some clips in a second here that dives down how the government and, this regime of a administration is handling this horrific event, the night and day that we, the American people, get treated compared to, the whole migrant crisis going on. Let's get diving.
But once the house detached, we ran into power lines and we ran into trees, which knocked us off into the water. That's when I went under and I lost sight of my mom and my son. I could hear them screaming. My dad was trying to fight for his life while in the water. He is, 73 years old, as my mother was. My son was 7. He didn't know how to swim. So my dad had grabbed onto a branch or something and was holding on. But the last thing that I heard from my son was he was screaming for Jesus, and he was saying, Jesus, please save me. That's the last words I heard out of my son's mouth. And that was when we separated. We all got knocked into the water into different ways. I didn't see them again. And I continued to float down, up and down through the water until I got trapped in a tree. I continued to look for them, but I heard nothing. I saw my mom screaming for my son at one point, and again, the last I heard from them was screams and screaming for Jesus.
That was so hard to watch. I don't know about you, but God help all these people that's suffering, that lost everything in North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, all these families gone in a blink of an eye, everything they own. Pray for these families, folks. This channel is not just about, the dark industry and exposing the wickedness, but it's also exposing the wickedness in the powers at be and those who are pulling the strings. But we're going to get into that. Let's continue.
I really don't think y'all understand how bad it is in the Southeast right now. We have towns that don't exist anymore. Chimney Rock is gone. The city of Asheville is cut off from the world. This is not an exaggeration. All the bridges leading into the city have been washed away. They have no food, no power, no water, no internet, no cell service. They don't even have radio. It's a complete dead zone. No one knows what's going on in there. I don't think I'm being dramatic when I say that this is a Hurricane Katrina level event. There was a woman in my town who called for an ambulance, and the ambulance got stranded. And they were stranded for 24 hours, and to my knowledge, the patient didn't make it. People are dying. They're still dying. I've been running the generator for the last 3 days, and we're starting to run out of gas. And this is on Highway 123 heading from Aisley to Greenville. And this was a 1 mile long line to get gas because they were the only people we knew around that had gas left. I got all the way to the end, and they were out. They had no gas. We checked every gas station in Pickens, in Aisley, in Liberty, nothing. And I don't know what I'm going to do when I run out of gas, I'll tell you that much. Try to steal some from my car maybe to keep my food cold, but even then, I don't know. This is the I-40 bridge, from Tennessee to North Carolina. It's gone. It don't exist no more either. We have people dying out here. Man, we need help. We need help.
I want to share with y'all some things you may not know about what's happening in the North Carolina mountains in the aftermath of Helene. Here's number one. If you have friends or family that are headed into the mountains or who live there, the looting has picked up major steam. I was advised yesterday by a county sheriff to make sure that anybody out and about is carrying, and in his words, carrying with the safety off. There are very aggressive people out there, and I'm just going to go ahead and say this. It's not because they're necessarily awful. They're desperate. Desperate people do desperate things, y'all. And why are they desperate? Because there's no water in some of these communities. We have neighbors in North Carolina with no water. And all I can say is this: the government ain't coming to save you. Not now, not ever, because they don't care about you, the people, anymore. It is the citizens who are going to have to step it up. Now, I got to tell y'all, I was floored yesterday by how my community, which is a little over an hour away from the affected areas, showed up at donation sites with water and diapers and formula and some liquid IV. I mean, y'all brought all kind of things, bleach, vinegar. You are ready to help, and we're going to take more donations today. And we're so grateful for everything, because I'm going to get it into the hands of actual volunteers. And I was asking people, why are you bringing it to me? Some of y'all don't even know me. And they said, well, we don't trust the relief organizations anymore. Y'all, we have lost our organizations to grifters. We have lost our organizations to liars. And so we have to rely on each other, because that's how this country was built. This country was built patriot by patriot. And I can tell you this, as a realtor, I know my realtors in the mountains, and I have talked to them, and they know the neighbors too. So I am getting your donations into hands that are going to get it into hands. And everybody that sent me dollars, I got teams of shoppers out, and I got receipts to prove it, because we are not grifters. We are neighbors. And the patriots that are in the mountains, if you see this, if your family sees this, hear me now. You are not forgotten by the rest of North Carolina. And if you are not in North Carolina, then there are ways that you can give. But can I just remind y'all of something? You cannot eat money. You cannot drink money. So for those of y'all that thought money was your God, and by the way, that includes our freaking elected officials, it's not your God. Told my girlfriend this morning while we were talking about this during our run, I said, tell your children, 'cause she's got grown children, this is why you keep a stash of water on hand. This is why you keep a stash of food on hand. But for those of y'all that are not in affected areas, if you can take your donated items and send it to the mountains, then send it with a friend. Make sure you're sending truckloads so that we don't overload the roads, because our first responders are overwhelmed. By the way, thank you, Governor DeSantis, for doing more for North Carolina than North Carolina's governor has. I'm very grateful for your National Guard, because we have to help each other, y'all. And I'm going to tell you something. If you will share this with somebody who doesn't know what's happening in North Carolina, they need to know. They need to know that there are entire towns gone. Chimney Rock is gone, a beautiful town. Swannanoa, gone. Montreat, gone. Other towns damaged beyond repair. That means our geography has changed, our culture is at risk, but most importantly, our people, our generational people have lost their generational homes. This ain't about your granite countertops anymore. Listen, y'all, listen. Tell somebody how they can help. I am but one resource. There are people I know all over North and South Carolina that have been gathering up goods and trucks. Somebody as far away as Massachusetts putting a truck together. Let me know. I can connect you to where to take things. The Baptists are doing a great job out of Boone. Samaritan's Purse is on the ground. I trust those two organizations. I wish I had trust for more, because I don't trust this government, but I trust the people of North Carolina. Y'all, the biggest thing you can do, pray. Pray right now. Pray fervently that people will turn their hearts back to God, and pray for a hedge of protection around all those who have seen things they should never have to see. I'll tell you one more story before I hang up this video. I had a lady come to my donation site yesterday, and her grandson is 10 years old, living in the mountains with his mother, who works in a VA hospital. They're getting the kid out today to get him home, because they can finally get him out. And they're worried because he has seen things he should never have to see. When you have children that are seeing bodies on the ground and towns gone, we're going to have to answer for that one day, y'all. Please pray. Please do something. And for those of y'all that have already done something, you can't thank you enough.
All right, so the link for her TikTok is below. It's in the 7th link for this video. So if you want to support or help any way you can, go to the channel, see what we can do as people. You know, it's times like this that we need to look out for each other, especially when our government won't do it. We need to stand together.
Go help. So now the government is actually blocking people from being able to go help. What? This is Tennessee. This is the volunteer state. That is what we do. And from reports that we've seen, they are blocking people who actually have skills like ex-military, different skills like that. They're saying, no, don't come in. We don't want your help. This is also happening over in North Carolina. And this is from the government. And they're literally threatening people with jail time if they come and help. There's a man that's over in North Carolina. If you guys look it up, he has like 30 acres of flat land over where the floods are. And he said, hey, if any helicopters need to come over here and land just to be able to get down in the middle where, you know, the disaster is the worst, come on over. Nope. Not allowed. Nobody's allowed to land. The government says you're not allowed to come over here and land on this man's property. So now they're controlling a person's property. And like, that is overreach. That is overreach from the government. Something suspicious is happening when they don't want any help. No help, even from qualified individuals. They're letting people just lay over there and suffer. What's going on? Y'all need to spread this out. I'm just so mad right now that I just found this out. Unbelievable.
The federal relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met.
If I seem a little angry in this video, it's because I am. And you might not care right now because you're not personally affected. But let me tell you this. The Department of Homeland Security, the head of that organization is Alejandro Mayorkas. And he recently released a statement stating that FEMA does not have enough resources, enough money to provide disaster relief throughout the rest of hurricane season. How does that even make sense when we've given tens of billions of dollars to other countries that have nothing to do with us? We have American citizens right now in Georgia, North Carolina, and other states affected by Hurricane Helene, and we don't have enough money. But you know what? FEMA magically somehow found a way to give over $600 million away to services to be rendered to non-citizen migrants who are coming to American communities. And meanwhile, Kamala Harris is out there talking about how any individual who was affected by Hurricane Helene can expect to receive $750 per person. How does that even make sense? You might not care. It might not affect you personally, but guess what? Those on the left side of the aisle will continue to support these politicians because these politicians are driven to make sure that the American citizen winds up ultimately last, and that simply cannot be allowed to continue.
Kamala just announced that FEMA is going to be providing $750 to the victims of Hurricane Helene. She says that this money can be used for, quote, immediate needs and assistance for home repairs, insurance deductibles, and hotel stays. When people see how much migrants are getting paid in sanctuary cities per month compared to the American taxpayers who just had their complete lives destroyed by Hurricane Helene, it feels like a complete ripoff. In New York, migrants are getting $1,400 a month in SNAP benefits. In Los Angeles, $1,000 per month. In Chicago, they're getting many benefits. And I know that a lot of this money is state and city funded, but FEMA's had something to do with it as well. Look at this. In 2023 and 2024, the direct funding for migrants through FEMA was over $1.4 billion. That's when you add up the costs that they've spent on the Shelter and Services Program, the SSP, and the Emergency Food and Shelter Program, the EFSP-H. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims of Hurricane Helene. And my question to you is, should the federal government be doing more? As always, I want to hear what you think about all of this down below.
$750, really? Now, for those of you who missed that snapshot of how much the government, FEMA, was spending on this whole housing and feeding the whole migrant situation, you can fact check that on Google, and the numbers will blow your mind. And now they're out of money to give to the American people. They're out of resources, they're saying. In hurricane season, there's still 2 more hurricanes on the horizon. And the FEMA, the government, is saying they're out of money. Money is not being spent, for this cleanup or for the American people. It's been used for the agendas of this political system.
Seen. Sean, this is the gravest betrayal of American citizens this country has ever seen. The reason why those Americans in North Carolina, those mothers, those fathers, those precious little children, were left to die, were left on rooftops begging their government for help that never came, is because Kamala Harris turned FEMA into an illegal alien resettlement agency. Its manpower, its dollars, its resources, its mental energy was spent over the last 4 years learning how to do one thing, how to get illegal aliens from outside the country into your town. And so when disaster struck, they were not ready, they were not prepared, they were not capable, and they did not care. And our fellow citizens, including babies, children, young kids, were left to suffer and drown. They did not scramble the helicopters. They did not scramble the military. They did not send needed assistance. But if those children had been living in a foreign country, they've been living in Haiti, or they've been living in Venezuela, why then Kamala Harris would have sent in help immediately. A betrayal like we've never seen before, Sean. This is infuriating.
And I'd add, he's going down there to tour the devastation before Kamala Harris, before Joe Biden. And yesterday, Joe Biden was asked what more can be done. And he said, nothing. We've given them all they can have. That's absurd. There's 2 million people in North Carolina without power. People are dying for food, for water. They are desperate. We've given billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine, and there's nothing else we can do for American citizens who are struggling, no fault of their own. Such a lack of leadership from the White House right now, but President Trump is showing real leadership today.
You guys go crazy in the comments about, the left side, right side, Republican, Democrat. Forget all that nonsense right now. What really matters is the government as a whole. Both sides should be helping despite, what's going on. Take the funding back from, the billions of dollars that you've given to this whole migrant situation, or get some money back from Ukraine and, help, the American people. But no. We don't matter. We the people don't matter. That sucks.
I'm going to be asking the American people to continue to help fund the needs of these people. It's not going to be one hit and it's over. It's going to take a hell of a long time. It's going to cost a hell of a lot of money. But this is the United States of America. We've got to do it.
So Biden is asking the American people to fund their own relief when they're already suffering. But he can send billions of dollars to other countries who are in need. How about we put our own first? Also, Biden, where are you? Trump was just in Valdosta, Georgia. Also, Miss Harris, why are you living it up in Vegas right now? Our country is literally underwater. Biden pretty much just said F you to the American people. Gotta love this administration.
We've given them all everything we have. We're on the ground at a time. So we're working hard.
Are there any more resources the federal government could be giving them?
No, we've given them, we have planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it. Let me be clear. If you're in a state where hurricanes often strike, a vital part of preparing for hurricane season is to get vaccinated now. Everything is more complicated if you're not vaccinated in a hurricane or natural disaster hits. Get vaccinated now so you're ready for whatever may come this month. The bottom line is this. Get vaccinated
You seen the story
and make
about
a plan.
the lady that was literally calling from a gas station for the FEMA money, the paltry $750 for the American citizens. They get $750. You know, thanks, FEMA. But now they can't even get that. People are getting denied left and right. And the guy was speaking to her on the phone. He was like, well, there's nothing I can do. It's our computer. And if our computer says no, then, you know, it's out of my hands. And she's literally going, I'm at a gas station. My house is gone. My mom and my son are like somewhere at a center where there's help. We have no money, no gas, or no food. He's like, sorry, we can only give out money to, you know, your house. If your insurance is not paying for it, whatever your insurance isn't paying for, that's what we're going to give money for, and for emergencies. And she goes, what do you mean an emergency? This is an emergency. I'm literally at a gas station. I have hardly no gas in my car. My mom and my son have no food. FEMA's doing this left and right, rejecting applications for the little $750 that was going to help them. It's just unbelievable, you guys. I am so sad and stressed for everyone. I'm so mad and furious.
The folks up in North Carolina. I see people comparing it and asking why haven't they prepared as much as, you know, people in Florida and everything like that. But people just do not understand the cultural and just locational differences in the mountains versus something that has hurricanes more frequently. I grew up in Chimney Rock. That's my hometown. It doesn't exist anymore now. And I now live over in Florida. So I can kind of have say on both things on this perspective. For starters, of course, nobody has flood insurance up in the mountains because we are at least 5 hours away from the oceans, which, yes, hurricanes could still happen. But as a rule, when a hurricane does happen to cut across, mountain ranges usually work as great barricades to break up storms before they actually hit the towns that are in the valleys that are over there. But, of course, there's exceptions. I've been told by other Floridians, they're saying, then why didn't people evacuate and, you know, go somewhere else to move out if they saw the storm was heading this way? Besides the fact that they were given very little time to do so and just leave in the first place, Appalachian, Blue Ridge Mountain, like, community culture, this is a very poor community. This is a very rural area. That being said, people live in houses that their great-great-grandparents have been living in. Everyone's in-laws, their cousins, their friends, everybody they know lives in the same county. Obviously there's exceptions, but with that being said, you don't have the luxury like you have in Florida, where you have people living in other parts in Florida, or you know people out of state. A lot of people just are stuck there. And besides them not being able to know somewhere else to go, they do not have the money to leave. Also, Airports, people say fly away. There are 2 airports in the city I'm living in now in Florida. There is one airport in Charlotte that I know of, and there's one airport in Charlotte, which are over 2 hours apart from each other. Those are the only airports I can think of around there. They do not have much means of transportation. Let me also explain how the roads work. Everything is built on a mountain cliffside because you cannot build roads through mountains. I mean, you can do a tunnel, but that's very rare. With that being said, you can make at most a 4-lane road. At most, usually it's a 1 or 2-lane highway that zigzags down a mountainside, which means you have usually one, maybe a few exits off the mountain, but you have to wrap around the mountain on the single road and leave. When water floods the base of the mountain, or worse, all this rain causes a mudslide or a rock slide that destroys these cliffside roads. People literally cannot get off their mountain. They are literally trapped on the mountainside, either with their house going to crumble with the landslide or the water is going to fill up from the bottom. So now with the specifics of the region being stated, now let's talk about the absolute anarchy that is happening around this area right now. So besides people just being afraid that they cannot get in contact with loved ones, most cell towers have been destroyed during the flood, and same with a lot of power lines. There are people here without power. My family, I lost contact with them up until today because I could not keep contact with them because the cell towers went down. With that being said, with the contact I was able to get with them today, I am still in shock with what is happening. So they told me that they are currently, living off a car battery and a generator, a small generator that they have just to have power for lights in the evening because power is going to be gone. And they said the predicted time where power will be back in their area, North Carolina, will be 3 to 4 weeks from now. Just imagine not having power, running water, or any of that for 3 to 4 weeks. Not only that, but I have friends and family by the lake area, and the ones I have been able to get in contact with have told me that they have seen, this is a trigger warning right here about death, they have seen the bodies floating down the river, bodies in the lake, and they are having the volunteer fire department take photos of these people so they can hopefully identify them later on. As of just between the areas of Bat Cave to Lake Lore, I have been told there has been already over 60 bodies found. And that has not been covered on the news yet. I don't know if it ever will, but from what I've been told by people I know who are volunteer fire department, that's what they've been seeing, let alone everything being shut down. All the grocery stores or the main chain grocery store in the mountain area has been shut down. Ingles, the grocery store. This is because their main HQ is in Black Mountain, which has been destroyed. And apparently all of their huge distributor stuff was at that HQ. So literally these grocery stores do not have the food because their distribution has been shut down. There has been resource stations for people to go and pick up, but it has been chaos in some of the bigger towns and such because since all these businesses are shut down, everything's in chaos. There has been a lot of looting, robbery, mugging. People are being held by weapons during these situations at bad hours because it is literally anarchy in some of those areas right now. I was also informed that the National Guard has been there and there's also been rescues happening, but these rescues are happening at set locations. A lot of people can't reach these rescue stations, and if they can't get there to get helicoptered away, they are literally trapped in their homes with no one there to help them. Reinforcements have arrived in these areas, but sometimes it's been causing more difficulties for the people in the community, such as there are areas being closed off because it's too dangerous to go over there, so they're trying to do a safe rescue, but there are people in that community that need to be rescued right away. And there are so many local firemen, local volunteers that are going to try to rescue people, but they literally can't because these roads are now being further closed off. For example, I know that my brother, he was driving down and he had to take a back road, and he came across an old lady at a house where she was out of oxygen tanks and she was literally hallucinating in her own house and wasn't looking too good. And he had to go and he was able to provide her oxygen and such. But since there's so much tragedy happening in this area, people, even in the community that are trying to help, they are kind of being isolated themselves and they cannot even help those who they need to help out. It's just absolutely devastating. I know I don't post stuff like this, but if you guys want to share this video, get this audio out, do whatever, spread the message that the Carolinas, everyone from Hurricane Helene does need help. Don't follow me. Don't look at my account for this stuff. This will be my only video, but I just had to get the word out as someone who was both formerly a North Carolinian and now a Floridian. I just am devastated to see how a storm can cause so much destruction. And I just could not rest not knowing that not many people were able to get this perspective. It has been an ultimate tragedy that has happened this year, and I just hope that the community, not just North Carolina, but all across who can be hearing this audio, can band together and hopefully be stronger. And yeah, that's all I can hope for these days.
All right, we got to think about getting out of here because this is going to be. James, you all right, bud?
So here today in Swannanoa, North Carolina, one of the hardest hit towns by Hurricane Helene. It's like a tornado came through. There's no government here, there's no FEMA. People are just coming in here with supplies, fuel, food, whatever we can to try to help this community. Every dollar I make from this video, I'm donating it to Hurricane Helene relief efforts. So please share, repost, comment, like, anything you can do that can boost this video. You're going to help people in need. Currently delivering aid at Swannanoa Church of God, and I just want to give you guys a look at the flooding in the church basement. Remember, this is a week after the storm. Still no power. Still no clean water, and we're just trying to dig out from the mud in here. There's more flooding. Making some progress down in the basement. Hungry people ready to get a hot meal. As you can see, we've got helicopters flying in and out. Really the most efficient way, the only way to get in and out of here. I mean, this auto shop just crumbled on its stones. I mean, completely gutted. Your thing, guys. Repost, share, like, comment. Anything you can do to make this video go farther is going to help people in need.
heart truly goes out to all these families that lost so much, their whole livelihood, generations of hard work, land, businesses. We should all be thankful for what we have. You know, like I said, I live in North Carolina. I'm 3.5 hours away. I visit Asheville often, and what really irritates me is the fact that $750 is all that our government can give to these families. And $750 can't even buy groceries for 1 week. And that's all they're getting. All right, so that wraps up this episode of the HFC podcast. We just covered Hurricane Helene. And the next video will be part 2 of this series. And that's Who Controls the Weather. As always, stay safe, stay blessed in these dark, deceptive times. HFC out. Peace.